Friday, everybody, and it is a happy Friday because today we're going to be talking about a subject we have not talked about before, and it just so happens to be my favorite subject: money. Okay, we're going to talk all about money in Panama. So that's going to be whether you're a tourist or whether you're an expat, getting money here, dealing with money here, all of that sort of stuff. So if that's something that interests you, just stop a second, make sure you subscribe below, hit notifications so you'll get our videos every single Friday. Okay, so before we start, you know I never like to get exactly right to the point. I like to film somewhere different on my property every time if I can. Today we're at an area, well, okay, let me back up. This property is 5 hectares, so it's like 13 acres. And it's so big. I mean, not compared to some people's properties, but for what I've dealt with in my life, it's a pretty big property. So we've kind of been breaking it up into sectors, and we've been naming each sector so we know what we're talking about when we're having a conversation about the property. So today we are filming in what we call Biriba Flats. Why do we call it Biriba Flats? Well, one reason is because it's flat here, and that's something that's quite an anomaly on this property. But it's called Biriba Flats because this is where one of our Biriba trees is, and cameraman Brian is going to show you Biriba. It is an amazing fruit. That one right there. And I'll be doing a video about Biriba here pretty soon. It's a fantastic fruit you've probably never even seen or heard of because it's not exported. It's not shipped. You don't find it in the markets. All right. Anyway, on to money. Okay. So we're going to split this up into a few different sections. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, go to the little time bar below and you'll see that I've split it up into different sections. So if you're not interested in, I don't know, wiring money, then don't watch that section. Go to getting money into your personal bank account instead, whatever. Okay, so here we go. First up, when I talk about money, I like credit cards. That's my money. I am not a cash girl. I don't like cash. When I lived in the States, the only time I would have more than $10 cash on me is if I had Brian with me. Like literally. I don't like to carry cash. I pay for a card for everything. I mean, unless it's like a pack of gum or something. I'm not going to make somebody pay a processing fee for that. But pretty much every single thing, gas, groceries, online bills, everything credit card. Here, that is a little bit more challenging. So we do have to use cash here quite a bit. So where I do use credit cards, paying my cell phone bill, which is paid online, that's on my credit card. When we buy gas, that's on the credit card. When we buy groceries at like the real grocery stores, so if we go to Romero or Price Mart or something like that, or Toto in Bocastown, we use credit card. But most of the little mini supers, some of them will take credit cards and some of them won't. So it kind of depends. But most of the smaller stores, they're going to tend to be cash only. Obviously, when I'm paying my employees, I'm paying them with cash, not with checks. We don't write checks here at all. I never wrote checks in the States either. But we will talk about a few checks here in a minute. All in all, I think there's a healthy combination of credit cards and cash here. If someone comes to the property to do work, this is the one that kind of kills me. If someone comes to the property to do like major work, like our road, and then it's like, $6,000 cash, I hate that kind of thing. The good thing is, though, is that most of these contractors, while they won't take credit cards, as long as you have, which you should if you're a resident here, a Panamanian bank account, you can just do a transfer, even if they don't bank at your bank. So let's say they bank, like I bank at Multibank, so say the person you're trying to pay banks at Banco General. There's a way to go in and for free, you can just transfer money into their account. So then you don't have to actually have that cash on you. So there's ways around like the big cash transactions. But if you're just driving around or whatever, literally I'd always kind of keep $100 on you. I don't, but because I don't go that far. But, you know, keep some cash on you, like in case of emergencies or something, and because you might get into a situation here where you would need to spend some money and would not be able to use a credit card. So just be prepared for that. Speaking of which, when people want to take cash, don't hand them hundreds. They're not super keen on that. So try to keep like 20s and below. That's the best way to do it. Again, I hate it because it's so bulky, you know, when you're carrying it, but it's just the way it is here. Okay, so that's credit cards versus cash and dealing with all of that. Next up, getting cash into the country. So the first thing we're going to talk about is bringing cash on your person from, let's say, the United States or Canada or wherever it's from. So this is how Brian and I brought our money in when we originally came here to apply for our immigration visas, because we had to have like that chunk of money to open our bank account. It was like $5,000, and we had to have a chunk of money for something else. A chunk of money for our vehicle, to pay for our car and some of the stuff on it. We had done a wire transfer from the States to the guy that bought our car here in Panama for us for the majority of it, but we had other little things that we had to do. So when you're coming in from your home country, you're allowed to carry less than $10,000 cash on you without having to declare it. And I don't even know what that declaration process is. I'm pretty sure it's just filling out a form and saying, hey, I've got $15,000 on me or whatever. Look, I don't want to get involved with it. The less I have to deal with an official when I'm coming into the country, the better off I feel. So Brian and I, when we did that, we each carried in like $9,500 just to make sure we were both under that $10,000 limit. So you can bring that on your person. You know, pros and cons. You're bringing free money in. Con, you've got a crap ton of cash on your body. So weigh that one in and out. I mean, we always feel safe in Panama, so it's never a case where we feel nervous having massive amounts of cash on us. It's not something I'd want to do every day, but if you're just bringing it in from the States for a one-time thing to get your bank account open or something like that, go for it. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about, ATMs. I didn't use ATMs in the United States, and I don't use them here. Like, I literally cannot think of the last time I used an ATM card. But I know a lot of people do. I don't like debit cards. If I'm going to use money, I'd rather put things on a credit card. I just feel more protected that way. They recently, as in, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago or something, changed the ATM rules here. So this is going to affect you whether you're a tourist or an expat. So the local banks now that have their ATM machines around, you can only take out $250 at a time. And then there's a fee attached to that. I don't know, maybe it's like $5 or something. If you know what the exact fee is, please put it below. Again, I don't use it, so I don't pay attention to it. But you're having to pay a fee every time. So if you want to take out $1,000, you have to take out $250 4 times and pay the fee 4 times. So keep that in mind if you plan to come here and live off of your debit card and ATMs. Also keep in mind that there tend to be lines from Bocas to Cologne to get to an ATM. The lines at the banks here never cease to amaze me. I would not want to stand in one. Plus, I just don't feel safe using ATM cards. You do you. Okay, and a lot of times, not only are you going to get a transaction fee here in Panama from that bank, but you're going to get a transaction fee from your home country bank as well. It adds up, and it adds up fast. All right, so one way you can kind of get around that, and I know a lot of expats do this, is they have accounts with Charles Schwab in the United States, because Charles Schwab will refund all of your ATM fees that are like on their side. So that's kind of a win-win. So if you're going to use an ATM card, you're from the US, you might consider opening up a Charles Schwab account. All right, so that's ATMs. So next thing about money is getting big gobs of money into Panama, like to pay for property, right? You're not going to carry that on your person to come into Panama, because chances are property you're buying is going to be over $10,000 anyway. and you'd have to declare it. You don't want to carry that kind of cash. You're probably going to have to wire it into a bank account here in Panama. And I'll tell you, I don't like that process here. When you're doing real estate transactions in the United States, you have like the seller and the seller's agent, the buyer and the buyer's agent. You might have a mortgage company involved, but you also, and a title company involved, but you also always have an escrow company involved, which is the safe place that holds all of the money. Okay, that's basically non-existent here. I think there are some cases where you can get it, but it's basically non-existent. So like when we purchased this property, like even before all of the paperwork and everything was 100% completed and in our name and everything, to complete the transaction, we had to wire all of those tens of thousands of dollars into the seller's attorney's bank account. It's just the way things work here. So if you're buying real estate, I highly suggest that whatever attorney you're dealing with on the seller's side is someone that you trust. That makes me nervous. All right, so that's wiring that kind of money. Okay, so that's like for big things, like if you're buying a car or if you're buying real estate. But what if you want personal money? So you want more, you don't want to pay the ATM fees and you don't want to go hang out at the ATM machine, but you want to get yourself like $5,000 or $10,000 here in Panama pretty quickly. What's the best way to do that? Well, you can wire yourself money from your like US bank account. And that's what Brian and I had been doing for quite a while. And there was a fee from our bank in the States is Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo had like a $40 wire fee for us to initiate that. And we were able to initiate it here in Panama. We filled out all the paperwork and got everything in order before we left. So we could just go online and initiate those wire transfers without being in the branch, which you kind of need if you live in Panama. So Wells Fargo is charging me like $45, and then Multibank is charging me, if I'm doing a video on things I really should pay better attention and
45.
research. But what was it?
It was 45.
Was it 45?
Yeah.
So Multibank is charging like 45. So that's like $90 to wire ourselves, you know, 5 or 10,000. Like when we had to pay somebody to do the road, and so we got to get a lot of money in here. And we got to pay somebody to do our dock survey, and we got to get a lot of money in here. And it really gets expensive fast, right? Because you can't wire like these massive amounts of money. You can't wire yourself like $50,000 without sending up all kinds of red flags. So what is a better way to do that? Ugh, I'm so excited because we figured it out. And it's so dumb. We should have figured it out earlier. That's writing yourself a check. Okay, I don't know. It just didn't dawn on, well, like I said earlier, I never write checks. I mean, to the point, I never write anything. I type everything. I do everything online. So like even signing my name on a check is like a struggle, trying to remember how to do cursive. But it just never dawned on me that I could write a check on a foreign bank account and deposit it into my Panamanian bank account. But lo and behold, you can. Now, here's the kicker. If you do over a certain amount, it's going to send up red flags and cause problems and create delays. So you don't want to do that. So we went into Multibank in Panama City and had a discussion with them. What is the maximum we can write ourselves a check for that it's not going to send up any red flags and not going to cause any problems? $3,000. Okay, so what we can do is we bank at Multibank actually in Changuinola. So we can write ourselves every time we go to Changuinola if we want to, which is a couple, like maybe once every couple weeks, write ourselves a check for $3,000, deposit it into our account, whether we need it or not. And the pros and cons. Pros of wire transfers, it's there pretty quick, within like a couple days. Cons, it costs a lot of money. Pros of writing yourself a check, it doesn't cost you anything from either bank, but the cons are, at Multibank at least, it's 15 business days to clear. So like if I've got to pay somebody tomorrow, writing myself a check is not going to cut it. Plus the fact, the other con is that you can't write yourself a check for more than $3,000. So we really have to do a lot of planning is basically what I'm saying. If I have to pay somebody $6,000 to do my road, then I know that I need to go to Changanoa twice basically and write myself a check for $3,000 each time. So by the time the road is finished, all of those funds have hit Multibank. And it has been a smooth process. I mean, it literally has been write the check, deposit it, 15 days later, it's available. And in my online bank, it'll show like how much of my balance I actually have available to use right now, and then what the actual balance is. So the actual balance is whatever, the difference between the two is whatever is kind of caught in the interim. Of course, the kicker is that I swear to Zeus that checks will clear on my Wells Fargo account that I write here quicker than if I wrote it in Los Angeles. I mean, it's out of my Wells Fargo account almost immediately, but it takes 15 days to get back into my Multibank account, which I don't care, that's fine by me. Okay, if this kind of information is beneficial to you in any way, I highly recommend that you subscribe below. If you have questions about any of this, I highly recommend that you join the I Go Panama Facebook group, where we answer questions about money and being expats and being tourists and being expat wannabes and immigration and coronavirus and all kinds of things over there. So if you want some really good information, come join us over on the I Go Panama Facebook group. I will link it below. Keep your money safe. Be smart with your money. It can be a challenge here in Panama, but figure out your workarounds and you'll be golden. All right, so until next Friday, have a great week.